So our next speaker is Remy Peritz. She is a self-proclaimed hyperactive overachiever turned waitress dancer and then Scrum Master. And she is here to talk about how having ADHD has made her a better Scrum Master. So go ahead, take it away, Remy.
Hey guys, how are you doing today? Yeah, so fabulous. Thank you to Carmen, Dr. Dave, and Robert, and also thank you to Alicia for setting me up so well with your imposter syndrome talk. I'm hoping that I can bring a little bit of Christina's radical transparency and authenticity, Emily's sort of experimental philosophy toward Scrum and Agile, and I have a PhD in self-sabotage. So I'm hoping that my talk can spark a conversation about what it means to build an inclusive environment and to start expanding the definition of inclusive and shift our understanding of disability to diversity, as well as some practical techniques, because I'm a practical girl. So just a little bit of what to expect. We've got some unqualified neuroscience, some tips and tricks, and recaps all within 10 minutes. I should probably start my timer. There we go. All right, a little bit about me. So you probably know a kid like me. My brother's identity here is protected. I did not get his consent. Even as a kid, hyper creative, factual recall, mastery at everything the first time, hits that strike, bowling, high emotional intelligence, can connect the dots, just a sponge for information. But also really too talkative, forgetful, obsessive about certain things, emotional outbursts, disorganized. Imagine a backpack with just loose papers everywhere, maybe 3-day-old milk, always late. And my whole life, since I was that cute little kid in kindergarten up until I graduated from college, I never once turned in a piece of homework on time, not one time. I only knew how to do things staying up late. Panic and adrenaline were the only things that I could accomplish. And when I entered the working world, the stakes became even higher. Deadlines, emails, meetings, I was burning out. And as often happens with women, particularly high achieving women, people just said, oh, that's Remy. The timeliness was, not ever knowing how long something would take, to this Cassandra-like way that I could foresee how different situations would play out. These are actually symptoms of ADHD that were collectively dismissed as personality traits. And I internalized them and I thought that I was incapable of change. So when I was in my 30s, I was first diagnosed and given professional help, coaching, and a treatment plan for my ADHD. I really did the work. So you may be asking, what exactly is ADHD? Welcome to Oversimplified Neuroscience, where I cosplay a doctor on Zoom. So I'll try to explain this whole thing in 10 seconds. Most neurotypical people, when you're awake, your brain is in one of two modes. DMN mode, which is the default mode network. These are the parts of your brains that are active when you're at rest. Episodic memory, rumination, imagining the future, social understanding. I like to think these are the parts of your brain that are awake most when you're taking a shower. And then TPN network. So that is the task positive network where you're actively paying attention. You're intentionally trying to execute a task. You're also absorbing environmental input, right? This is your short-term memory, so you can remember what exactly you put on that clipboard to copy and paste. Now, an ADHD brain is both modes on at the same time, all the time, simultaneously. Now, you can see in this picture, it looks like our brains are actually exploding. So if this sounds overwhelming to you, the answer is yes. And I would love to do a little experiment with you really quickly. If everyone can just take a moment, if you have a scratch piece of paper or, just in your head, and calculate how many days there are right now between now and April 15th, when Americans have their taxes due. Could you guys start to calculate that, please? Don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. We don't talk about Bruno. It was my wedding day. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. Okay, how many people have the days? Does anybody have the answer here? Okay.
17?
It is 49 days between now and April 15th. So that is just a little bit about what it is trying to get through my day. So you're asking like, hey, like, why does this matter? So 10% of children in America are diagnosed with ADHD. And that's just the data that we have. We don't have great data on adults. And this 10%, this is the workplace of the future, right? And it's not that more kids have ADHD. It's just that we're getting better at diagnosing it. We're getting better at understanding it. And when you take that idea of ADHD as like neurodivergence, right? I like to think of it as not a disability, but a difference, right? I refer to it as neurodivergence to the point where I don't even remember like what else it's called. 25% of adults in the United States have some sort of difference. And 20% of that, 25%, have some sort of invisible difference. That could be chronic migraines, that could be tinnitus, something invisible that is not exactly obvious. And so if you have a team of 8 people, you're definitely going to have at least one person who is disabled in some way. But you're most likely also going to have 2. And it's most likely going to be someone that you don't recognize or realize they are working with a difference. So here's another slide because I'm not very detail oriented and I forgot to take it out. So what I like to say is that there are really talented individuals out there who are struggling to meet deadlines and working in environments that are not inclusive. I went back to study design theory, social design, or how design can impact human-to-human interaction. And I did auxiliary training in UX design. It was there that I discovered Agile, and I learned how it was about developing a mindset. I love that. Like, I love being able to change people's neural pathways to realize that they can accomplish things that they didn't think they can accomplish. So here are some design concepts that I apply to myself and that I also apply to help build a more inclusive team and workplace at ArcXP, which is a SaaS platform for media and brands that is housed by the Washington Post. For example, I like to use design for extremes. Are you guys familiar with design for extremes? So it is a design concept where in order to build a solution for most users, for the average users, you use extreme edge cases. So for example, it's really hard to design for the average user because the average user does not exist, right? We're made of multitudes. There's no 5'5" cis right-handed man who is a Mandarin speaker named Mohammed. That is your average person. So instead, designing for extremes means that if it works for me, someone who is fidgety, time blind, and forgetful, and it also works for my diametric opposite, somebody who's task-oriented, detail-oriented, and great with their time management, then it's most likely going to work for almost everyone in between. So one example of that is in facilitating meetings, having a very clear agenda, very clear objectives. I have like 6 different things to help me tell time and keep on track. You know, I try to incorporate interactivity, ways to make people have their feelings out, little moments where you can reconnect, and also do training on how to be an engaging speaker to anybody who's running meetings. So I know that I'm not motivated by goals. I get no dopamine hit from meeting an OKR. So I have to use the keep it simple, stupid, or KISS method and make things easy and intuitive. And that means building environments, habits, processes, and small steps that are sustainable. And I consider myself a QA tester for my team's process. It takes a neurotypical person 30 days to develop a habit, like going to the gym. It takes me 90 days to develop a habit. So if it works for me for 90 days, you can be darn sure it's a pretty good process. An example like this is building a good environment using a concept called mise en place, which is a French concept meaning establishment, having all your ingredients ready, measured, cut before you start cooking, right? We do this automatically when we go to the shower. We bring our towel, our soap, we have everything there. That being said, I used to take a shower without a towel ready, and it was a disaster. And so I use that to be the fundamental part of building habits, right? You have a mise en place, you have your solution design, you have templates for your tickets, you know what you have to do. You do it right after your lunch break, right? You have a cue, and then you have a reward. You know, it's the very last thing that you do on Fridays, and then you're log off. You say, hey guys, I completed my tickets, and you log off, and that's your reward. I also know that a lot of mainstream advice doesn't work for me. I really like that Alicia talked about imposter syndrome, because very much fake it till you make it just makes me feel fake and inauthentic. So I really like practice. Practice makes progress. And when you think about it, if you're going to hire a personal trainer, there we go. You're going to want one that overcame bad habits themselves. I actively struggle these things that I actively practice these things that I struggle with. I listen to podcasts. You know, I'm very bad at interrupting. But it's a skill that I can learn, and that means that it's teachable. So I often get complimented on my active listening skills. All right, that being said, thank you very much. I'm at 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Remy.
Great.
That was fantastic. Yes.